Hey guys, it's DC and welcome to the Soap Sanctuary where all soap lovers are welcome. This video is on diversity in soaps because with the Gates coming up, Beyond the Gates, which is supposed to be a predominantly African-American soap, which we haven't had one of those in a minute, right? It made me wonder about diversity on soaps, right? So you can see that from the thumbnail. I have two couples from Generations. I have the Penastar family from EastEnders, and I have Spencer and Trina from General Hospital. Now, I want to preface this by saying that I don't watch American soaps for diversity. That's just I don't. I watch my British soaps for diversity. I watch my South African soaps for diversity, but I do not watch American soaps for diversity. They just don't do. I just don't get that fix from there in that department. So for me, I feel like sometimes I wonder if the American audience is really ready for diversity as they claim they do. Because when we first had Generations, I don't mean Generations the legacy of South African soapy. I'm talking about the American soap Generations, which is meant to center on African American life or predominantly African Americans. You guys weren't watching back then, right? Nobody was watching that. And so this is my thing, right? I've seen a lot of people very champion for diversity in soaps, diverse storylines, more black characters, more gay characters, etc., etc. But I do wonder, will they support? Because if you look at the remaining four soaps on the air, these are the four soaps that didn't do diversity. They really didn't, if you think about it. Bold and the Beautiful never really did diversity like that. Days of Our Lives has just been kind of experimental at that now. And even then, they're the ones that are doing it probably the most, which is not saying much, but they're on streaming. They're not even on a network anymore. General Hospital is never known for diversity either. We all know that. Young Lorenz So they're not really known historically to do those kind of storylines. But these are the soaps that are left. The soaps that were doing it, All My Children, One Life to Live, sometimes Guiding Light, they're not here anymore. So I wonder, what does that say? What does that really say there? Now, a disclaimer here for myself is that I subscribe to a lot of different platforms, right? There's A Connection TV, there's BRB TV, there's Tyson Plus, which has content for black gay men, and I watch it. I get my fix from somewhere, right? Because my whole thing is I always give the comparison of the restaurant. If there's one restaurant telling me, hey, we can serve you, but tomorrow morning at 8 o'clock, but I'm really hungry now, and there's a restaurant across the street, they're not name brand. They're not a well-known restaurant, but they got good quality food, and they got the food that I want specifically. And they said, we have a table ready for you right now. I'm going across the street, and I would love to go to the other restaurant too, but while you guys are just figuring out your stuff, I'm gonna go over here. And that's the way I look at it. So I like to support those platforms that already have the meat and potatoes there ready for me to serve. I'm not waiting on you, right? And I look at the soaps that did do diversity, like All My Children, especially One Life to Live. And this was my thing. One Life to Live's whole theme as a soap was diversity. But my question was anybody watching? Was Albert watching? No. And that's why I got canceled. People were not watching these soaps. I do think now soap viewers have realized the error of their ways. If I'm being completely honest, they realize the error of their ways, and they're willing now to support this type of content that's coming out in soaps. People are hungering for it now, right? I think they realize the error of their ways. They pray to the soap gods and they're willing to atone. Because how hard is it when you're watching a soap and you don't see yourself in any of these characters? When I watch Hollyoaks, when I watch EastEnders, when I watch Muvongo, Scheme Som, Generations of Legacy, I see myself in these characters. Even the British soaps. If you look at even with EastEnders and Hollyoaks, they have Indian, Arabic, and Jamaican American families. Jamaican. Do you know how hard it was for GH just to get a black couple to marry on the show for the first time in 50 years? Isn't that crazy? Sometimes I can't help but wonder if the diversity we see in American television is a direct representation of what is truly going on in the American conscious mind at times. Because other shows are already on par with groundbreaking storylines. You see, this is the thing, and this is the thing too, relatable storylines. If you look at Hollyoaks, all the British soaps, everybody is middle class. There's no big media conglomerate company. I don't know anybody who owns a media conglomerate company. I don't know. Some people do. There's nothing wrong with that. But I feel like sometimes Americans chase fantasy, and we get fantasy in our shows. We don't always get reality. And I can relate to the reality more. I think a little fantasy is good, but sometimes I want to feel like this is very relatable. This is why sometimes I can't watch Hollyoaks. Hollyoaks can be very heavy sometimes as a show, because it feels very realistic in a lot of the storylines. I think the Frankie storyline thing, ooh, that's too heavy for me. That's too heavy. I have to log out sometimes. It gets a little heavy. It gets a bit heavy. But I can see myself in some of these characters. Not Frankie. I can see myself in some of these characters, like the Panesar family, Grace on Hollyoaks, or Clement on Scheme Sum. I can see myself in these characters. I have a hard time doing that with American soaps, seeing myself in any kind of these characters. And I will say, for my South African soaps, one of the reasons why I love it so much is, and I know a lot of my viewers are American audience, American soap viewers, I understand that, but the reason why I love it so much is because it reminds me of my Haitian culture, and I can connect to that part of it. Some people, I know a lot of people can't get past the language aspect of South African soaps, and that's fine. It's not for everyone, but it appeals to me. And I watch it even though when it has captions and all that stuff, because I like it. I can even watch Spanish telenovelas and watch with English captions because the storyline, the writing is there. Good writing for me transcends language. That's how I feel personally. But for me, it's also about the language and the culture, right? That draws me into those shows. When you're dealing with a cast that's predominantly black, I mean, you got Generations that's been on for 30 years, Muvhango's been on for 26 years, Scheme Sum's been on for 15 years, 5 days a week. And these shows are writing storylines that I actually care about. That is such a difference. When I look at soap content creators like JLJ Media, who's always championing for diversity, I give JLJ Media his credit because he does talk that talk. He does. He was watching One Life to Live. He was an avid fan of One Life to Live. He supports other content creators. He supports those people who are actually making content for people of diverse audiences. He actually supports that, right? If you look at All My Children, we had J.R. Martinez, a war-torn vet on All My Children, as a leading man, not supporting, leading. These were shows that were giving us our diversity here. They were giving us the meat and potatoes, but we didn't want to eat it. And now we were so infused with the mob stuff on GH, and now we realize, I'm kind of tired of this crap. I'm a little bit tired of it. The sustenance is not there as much. But now we realize the error of our ways, right? So with the Gates coming in, I really hope that we can support this. But I want the storylines to be diverse. I mean, look at Generations, the legacy. I think it was around 2005 to 2008. They had a gay black male married couple as leading men on a show. Leading. This is why I like international soaps, because they are ahead of their time. And the audience honors that. They were part of the Moraka family on Generations, and they were leading men, leading male characters, not background characters like Brad and Lucas on GH, which was like supporting, leading. There's a difference. And I want to see more of that on these shows. Will and Sunny, I think, was the first step to them finally realizing, oh yeah, gay men can be leading male characters. Oh yeah, that's a possibility. So are we ready for that diversity that we're asking for? I believe that we are. Now we will support the Gates when the time comes. Because I'm about done watching B&B. I don't know about else. I'm about done with it. It's been the same storyline, the same people. They got Carter and Hope on right now. That'll be going on for about 2 weeks, and then we'll be back to business as usual. I already know. Brad Bell is a genius. He gives you a little bit of diversity. Like, he dangles it a little bit. Like, hey, here's diversity, hey. And you take it, and you get like a taste of the tip of the crunch. And then he brings out the same old food. It's like he knows how to keep us in line, in a sense. So I want you guys to really think about that when we're looking at the diversity on these shows and what that means for us, in a sense. Because I was watching Hollyoaks the other week, and I was like, damn, this show's so good. It was heavy. I had to stop watching for 2 episodes. It was getting a little heavy. But that was good. That was really good. And so I'm interested to see what this diversity is going to look like for the Gates, Beyond the Gates. We had an all-black cast, and everyone's super excited. Let's see if the views can get there. And I think they're smart bringing in actors from other genres and other places for this, because we need a diverse audience. Daytime has not known how to draw in a new audience in a minute, because the thing that encapsulated daytime back in the 80s was the youth. They haven't brought in no new youth since. That's the problem. I want to say, honestly, after like 2005, 2006, no new youth has been brought into soaps. The youth is the future. ABC Daytime knew that and capitalized on that. Now, As the World Turns, most younger people won't really watch. I don't know a lot of younger people that are watching As the World Turns. Most of the younger people were watching General Hospital, All My Children, Will I Tell You, and they had more youthful-oriented storylines even up until 2006. So these are things I think we want to really think about when we think about diversity in our shows. But people weren't watching One Life to Live back then. Albert wasn't watching One Life to Live back then. And when people are not watching, this is why it gets canceled. Nobody was actually supporting the genre that was giving us this stuff. Days is doing a great job attempting to infuse that into the market. Days is like the American Hollyoaks right now for me. It's giving us something. But I want to see myself reflected in these storylines, guys. It's important for us. We need that. Anyways, guys, that is my video on diversity of soaps. What do you guys think? Do you guys think that the American public is ready for diversity in soaps? And especially for some of you guys that watch like British soaps or South African soaps, what are your guys' thoughts on this? Especially that I want to know. Because every time I'm watching these different soaps, I'm always making comparisons in my mind that's showing up. About, wow, so you can write these kind of storylines if you want to. I mean, most of these shows are not even as predictable. I mean, American soaps are very predictable. Very predictable. I mean, so predictable. You know? And sometimes we need a shock to the system. So I'm really going to support Beyond the Gates, but Beyond the Gates gets 1 week for me. That's 5 episodes. Some people say that's harsh, but that's 5 hours. That's 5 episodes. On prime time, you don't give a primetime show 2 episodes before you log out. I'm giving them 5 episodes, 1 week. You got 1 week to impress me, but I expect great things. Bob Gouze is behind this. And we all didn't like how the Bob Gouze years is all about Sonny, Carly, and Jason. But one thing you couldn't say was that GH didn't deliver almost every episode for those 2 to 3 years. That's one thing you could not say. From like 04 to like 08, you could not say that GH was not delivering almost every single episode during the Bob Gouze reign. Anyways, guys, those are my thoughts. Let me know what your guys' thoughts are in the comments below. If you're liking my content on this channel, please like, comment, share, and subscribe. And I'll see you guys in the next one. I'm out.